How to unleash your inner power for remarkable growth. Most people feel busy, but not fulfilled. They work hard, they try to improve, yet progress feels slow. Something is missing. If you've ever felt stuck despite effort, stay with me until the end of this video. Because the solution isn't motivation. It's learning how to activate the power you already have. And once you do, growth stops being random. Inner power is not hype. It's not personality. It's not confidence. It's not something you're born with. And it's not something you wait for. Inner power is a skill that determines how you respond when life applies pressure, a skill that decides whether you rise or retreat, a skill that controls the direction of your growth. Most people misunderstand this. They think power looks loud, aggressive, unshakable. Real power is quieter. It shows up in decisions no one sees, in moments when quitting feels easier, in the space between impulse and action. Inner power is the ability to choose deliberately, to choose focus over distraction, to choose progress over comfort, to choose responsibility over excuses. That choice is available every day. Inner power begins with awareness. Most people run on autopilot. They react without noticing. They repeat patterns without questioning them. Awareness breaks that cycle. When you notice your thoughts, you gain distance. When you gain distance, you gain control. Control creates options. Options create freedom. That's power. Inner power is emotional control, not emotional suppression. Not pretending everything is fine. Control means you don't let emotions drive the wheel. You acknowledge them. Then you decide. Anger doesn't have to lead to reaction. Fear doesn't have to lead to avoidance. Doubt doesn't have to lead to delay. You feel it. You name it. You move anyway. That's a strength. Inner power is the ability to direct focus. Your life moves in the direction of what you focus on. Most people focus on problems, on noise, on things they can't control. Powerful people focus on leverage. What can I influence? What can I improve? What's the next useful step? Focus narrows chaos into clarity. Clarity fuels action. Inner power is self-leadership. It's doing what needs to be done without needing pressure, without needing reminders, without waiting for motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Leadership stays. You lead yourself when no one is watching. You follow through even when it's uncomfortable. That builds trust in yourself, and self-trust is fuel. Inner power grows through discipline, not punishment, not harshness. Discipline is choosing long-term benefit over short-term relief, getting up when it's easier to stay comfortable, speaking up when it's safer to stay quiet, starting before you feel ready. Each act strengthens your internal authority. Power compounds quietly. Inner power is not control over others. It's control over response. You can't control people. You can't control outcomes. But you can always control effort. You can always control attitude. You can always control consistency. That's where real leverage lives. Inner power is grounded in responsibility. Not blame, not guilt. Responsibility means recognizing that your choices shape your future. No matter where you start, no matter what happened before, that realization is freeing. Because if choices create results, choices can create change. Inner power is built, not found. It strengthens through use. It weakens through avoidance. Every time you choose courage, it grows. Every time you choose comfort, it fades. Not dramatically, gradually. That's why small choices matter. Inner power doesn't make life easy. It makes you capable. Capable of handling pressure. Capable of staying steady. Capable of moving forward without certainty. That's the kind of power that creates remarkable growth. And once you understand this, you stop waiting. You start leading. Most people aren't lazy. They're patterned. They wake up, react the same way, think the same thoughts, make the same choices. Then they wonder why nothing changes. Stuck isn't a lack of effort. It's a lack of awareness. The human brain is designed to protect, not progress. It looks for what's familiar, not what's effective. Familiar feels safe, even when it's uncomfortable. That's why people stay in jobs they dislike, routines that drain them, relationships that no longer fit. Comfort doesn't mean good. It just means known. Most people confuse movement with growth. They stay busy. They stay occupied. They stay distracted. But busy isn't forward. Motion without direction creates exhaustion, not results. Being stuck often looks productive from the outside, but inside, nothing is shifting. Another trap is emotional attachment to old stories. I've always been this way. This is just how life is. That's not for people like me. These stories feel true because they've been repeated, not because they're accurate. Repetition creates belief. Belief creates behavior, and behavior locks the pattern. Fear plays a quiet role, not loud fear. Subtle fear. Fear of looking foolish, fear of starting over, fear of finding out you're capable of more. So people delay. They wait for confidence, for clarity, for permission. Waiting feels responsible, but it's avoidance in disguise. Another reason people stay stuck is overthinking. Thinking feels like progress, but thinking without action builds anxiety. The mind runs scenarios, plays worst-case outcomes, magnifies risk. Action interrupts that loop. Clarity comes after movement, not before. The environment matters more than people realize. What you hear daily shapes belief. What you see daily shapes expectation. Constant noise weakens focus. Constant comparison weakens confidence. If your environment rewards distraction, discipline feels harder than it should. Most people never adjust the environment. They blame themselves instead. Stuck also comes from low emotional standards, tolerating low energy, tolerating excuses, tolerating delay. What you tolerate becomes routine. Routine becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. Here's the shift. You're not stuck because you can't change. You're stuck because you haven't interrupted the pattern yet. Patterns don't break with force. They break with awareness and replacement. You don't delete old habits. You overwrite them, one decision at a time. Getting unstuck doesn't require a dramatic leap. It requires a different response. When you usually delay, act. When you usually avoid, lean in. When you usually doubt, move anyway. New actions create new feedback. New feedback creates new belief. That's how momentum starts. Stuck is temporary. Patterns are trainable. Progress is available. The moment you respond differently, the pattern loses power. And that's where growth begins. Most people believe action creates motivation. That's backward. Emotion drives action. Always. You don't act because you understand something. You act because you feel something. Energy decides behavior, not logic, not plans. That's why people know what to do and still don't do it. Emotion is the engine. When energy is low, everything feels heavy. Simple tasks feel overwhelming. Decisions get delayed. When energy is high, action feels natural. Confidence rises. Momentum builds. Same person, different state. Most people wait for the right feeling. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel inspired. They wait to feel ready. That wait costs years. Powerful people don't wait. They generate the state first. They move their body. They change their focus. They shift their energy. Then action follows. Emotion is not random. It's triggered by two things. And what you interpret, change either one, and emotion shifts. That's leverage. Focus shapes feeling. Focus on problems and tension rises. Focus on progress and energy lifts. Focus on what's missing and doubt grows. Focus on what's working and momentum builds. Your brain follows attention. Where attention goes, emotion flows. Interpretation amplifies emotion. The same event can mean threat or opportunity, failure or feedback, end or beginning. Meaning decides intensity. When meaning changes, emotion changes with it. Here's what most people miss. Emotion doesn't need to be eliminated. It needs direction. Fear can sharpen focus. Pressure can increase performance. Discomfort can signal growth. The problem isn't emotion. The problem is letting emotion decide behavior. Taking control starts physically. Your body sends signals before your mind reacts. Slouched posture sends a weakness. Shallow breathing signals stress. Stillness invites overthinking. Change the body and emotion shifts automatically. Stand taller. Breathe deeper. Move with intention. This is not a theory, it's physiology. Motion creates emotion. Even a small movement breaks inertia. A walk, a stretch, a deep breath, energy responds instantly. That's why action precedes motivation. Next comes focus control. Ask better questions. What's wrong? Drains energy. What's next? Creates motion. Why can't I? Weakens belief. What can I do now? Builds power. Questions direct attention. Attention shapes emotion. Language reinforces the state. What you say internally becomes instruction. Harsh language drains energy. Clear language directs it. Talk to yourself like a leader, not a critic. That shifts performance. Emotional control doesn't mean staying calm all the time. It means staying effective. Sometimes intensity is useful. Sometimes stillness is stronger. Power is flexibility. You can rise when needed. You can steady when required. That's control. This skill changes everything. When you control your emotional state, you stop being reactive. You stop handing power to circumstances, to people, to moods. You choose how you show up. Consistency comes from emotional mastery, not discipline alone, not talent. When you know how to shift state, you don't rely on willpower. You create readiness. This is the switch. Once you learn how to change emotion on demand, action stops being a struggle. Progress becomes repeatable, and growth becomes inevitable. Your state determines your results, not your talent, not your intelligence, your state. State is how you feel in the moment. Your energy, your focus, your emotional posture, same situation, different state, different outcome. Most people let their state control them. They wake up tired. They accept it. They carry it all day. They feel stressed. They react. They spread it into every decision. That's unconscious living. Power begins when the state becomes a choice. The state is built from three drivers: your body, your focus, your internal language. Change one, and state shifts. Change all three, and momentum explodes. Start with the body. The body speaks first. The mind listens later. Slump posture sends a message of defeat. Shallow breathing signals urgency. Stillness invites hesitation. Your nervous system responds instantly. Stand taller. Open your chest. Breathe deeper. Energy follows posture. Movement is medicine. You don't think your way into energy. You move your way into it. A walk resets chemistry. Stretching breaks tension. Motion clears mental fog. Even small movement counts. Stillness too long creates stagnation. Motion restores flow. Now focus. Focus is the steering wheel. What you focus on expands. What you ignore weakens. Most people focus on what drains them. Deadlines, noise, distractions. Powerful people narrow focus. What matters now? What's the next useful action? Clarity creates calm. Calm fuels execution. Focus is trained, not fixed. Every time you bring attention back, you strengthen control. Distraction isn't failure. It's practice. Return, refocus, repeat. That's how concentration grows. Next comes internal language. Your mind listens to instructions. I can't shuts energy down. This is hard, adds resistance. I'll try. Leaves the door open for quitting. Clear language creates authority. What's required? What's within my control? What's the next step? That language directs behavior. State collapses when language turns vague. Clarity restores power. Name the task. Define the action. Set the boundary. Unclear thinking creates stress. Clear thinking creates movement. Energy also depends on recovery. Pushing nonstop drains reserves. Burnout doesn't come from effort. It comes from an imbalance. Powerful people respect rest, not laziness. Sleep, breathing, silence. These restore capacity. Another overlooked factor is input. What you consume shapes your state. Constant noise overloads attention. Constant comparison weakens confidence. Reduce mental clutter. Less input, more intention. Quiet sharpens power. State mastery is not about staying hyped. It's about staying effective. Sometimes you need intensity. Sometimes you need calm. Control means you can shift when required. Up when action is needed. Down when clarity is needed. That flexibility is a strength. When the state is controlled, consistency improves. You stop relying on mood, you stop waiting for the right feeling, you create readiness on demand. That's real power. This is how momentum becomes predictable. Not emotional swings, not bursts of motivation, controlled state. Directed energy. Repeatable action. Once you master this, you stop being reactive. You stop handing your day to circumstances. You choose how you show up. And that choice compounds. Everything you do flows from identity, not goals, not intentions. Identity. You don't act based on what you want. You act based on who you believe you are. That belief shapes behavior automatically. Most people try to change their actions first. They set goals. They make plans. They promise discipline. Then they fall back. Not because they're weak, because identity never changed. Behavior that conflicts with identity never lasts. Identity is the internal answer to one question: who am I? Every decision responds to that answer. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you hesitate. If you see yourself as capable, you act faster. Identity doesn't wait for proof, it creates it. Your past does not define identity. Patterns do, and patterns can be replaced. You are not your history, you are your current standard. The moment you choose differently, identity begins to shift. Identity changes through evidence, not affirmations, not wishful thinking. Evidence, small wins, follow through, consistency. Each action sends a message. This is who I am. Most people wait for confidence to act. Confidence comes after action. Action creates proof. Proof builds belief. Belief reinforces identity. That's the loop. Identity grows through self-trust. When you keep promises to yourself, trust builds. When you break them, trust erodes. Self-trust affects everything. Energy, focus, courage. Protect it. You don't need a massive change. You need alignment. Choose actions that match the identity you want, not perfect actions, consistent ones. One workout, one honest conversation, one focused work session. Small actions carry weight. Language also shapes identity. I'm trying. Weakens commitment. I don't do that. Sets boundaries. Words signal standards. Speak from identity, not intention. That shifts behavior instantly. Identity also responds to the environment. If you surround yourself with low standards, they feel normal. If you surround yourself with discipline, it becomes expected. The environment reinforces identity quietly. Choose wisely. The strongest identities are flexible, not rigid, not fragile. They adapt under pressure. I'm someone who learns. I'm someone who adjusts. That keeps growth alive. Identity-based growth is sustainable. No burnout, no extremes, just steady alignment. Who you decide to be guides what you do. This is where change becomes permanent, not emotional, not forced, integrated. When identity shifts, effort drops, progress accelerates. Identity is built through proof, not talk, not intention. One small action, repeated daily. That's how it starts, with a decision, a quiet one. You say you'll wake up earlier. You do. You say you'll train today. You train. You say you'll finish the task. You finish it. No applause. Just execution. That is how identity shifts, because your brain is always watching. It records patterns. It looks for evidence. It asks one question: can I trust you? Every kept promise answers yes. Every broken one plants doubt. Over time, those answers compound. You don't need massive wins. You need consistent evidence, small receipts, evidence that you show up, evidence that you finish. Most people wait to feel different before they act differently. That's backwards. You act first, then you become. Confidence is not granted, it is constructed, action by action. You don't become disciplined by thinking about discipline. You become disciplined by doing hard things repeatedly. You don't become focused by wishing for clarity. You become focused by eliminating distractions. You don't become reliable by declaring it. You become reliable by honoring your word. Especially when it's inconvenient, especially when no one checks. The world doesn't shape your identity. Your habits do. What you tolerate, what do you avoid, what do you finish? That is who you are becoming. Every day you vote, with behavior, not with goals. You vote for the person you want to be, or for the one you're trying to leave behind. Miss once, learn, adjust, move. Miss twice, pay attention. There's a pattern forming. Identity is not destroyed by failure, it's shaped by response. Do you retreat or recommit? Do you rationalize or recalibrate? That choice matters more than the mistake, because identity isn't fragile, it's adaptive. It updates based on repeated input. If you constantly break your word, you start expecting less from yourself. Standards drop quietly. Self-respect erodes slowly. Not in one dramatic fall, in subtle compromises. I'll do it tomorrow. Just this once. It doesn't matter. It always matters. Not because of the task, because of the signal. You are sending signals to yourself about who you are, about what you do, about what you allow. Become the kind of person who keeps promises to themselves. Start small, very small. So small it feels almost easy. 10 minutes of focused work, 5 pages read, 1 healthy meal, 1 hard conversation, 1 uncomfortable rep. Then repeat. Consistency beats intensity. Consistency builds heat. Heat shapes steel. When you follow through daily, something shifts internally. You stop negotiating, you stop debating, you act. Decisions become faster, energy becomes cleaner, less friction, more momentum. Momentum changes posture. You walk differently. You speak differently. You think differently because you trust yourself. Self-trust is power. It removes hesitation. It reduces overthinking. It silences doubt, not because you're perfect, because you're proven. You've seen yourself execute again and again. That memory becomes fuel. On hard days, you don't rely on hype. You rely on history, your own track record. That is unshakable. Big goals stop feeling distant because you know how to build, step by step, day by day. You stop chasing motivation. You protect standards instead. Standards simplify life. If you said you would, you do. No drama, no internal debate. That clarity frees mental space, and focus expands. When focus expands, output improves. When output improves, results follow. Results reinforce belief. Belief strengthens identity. The loop tightens. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You need one non-negotiable, one anchor habit, one daily proof point. Guard it, protect it, execute it, even when tired, especially when tired. Because discipline built in comfort is weak. Discipline built in resistance is durable. This is how you raise your baseline. Not through pressure, through practice. The practice of alignment, saying it, then doing it, again and again. Soon it stops feeling forced. It feels normal. That's the shift. When discipline becomes the default, when follow-through becomes automatic, when promises become contracts with yourself. And once that identity locks in, everything accelerates. You aim higher, you recover faster, because you know who you are, not based on hope, based on proof. That changes everything. It changes how you start your day, how you handle pressure. You stop asking, can I do this? You start saying, I do what I commit to. That sentence carries certainty. And certainty drives action. Action builds results. Results expand identity. Identity shapes destiny. All from one small action, one follow-through, repeated daily. Your life is shaped by meaning, not events, not circumstances. Meaning. The same situation can break one person and strengthen another. The difference is in interpretation. Events are neutral. They don't decide your future. They don't define your worth. Meaning gives them power. What you say an event means determines how you feel. How you feel determines how you act. Most people assign meaning automatically. Something goes wrong. They personalize it. This proves I'm not good enough. This always happens to me. I knew I'd fail. Those meanings feel true. But they're optional. Meaning can weaken you or sharpen you. A setback can mean the end, or it can mean adjustment is needed. A mistake can mean failure, or it can mean feedback. The meaning you choose decides your next move. Powerful people question meaning. They don't accept the first story. They ask, what can this teach me? How can this improve me? What's still within my control? These questions change direction. Meaning shapes emotional intensity. If something means danger, fear rises. If it means opportunity, focus sharpens. Same event, different energy. Many people confuse pain with damage. Discomfort feels like something is wrong, but discomfort often means growth. Muscles grow through strain. Skill grows through challenge. Meaning determines whether discomfort stops you or strengthens you. Another trap is global meaning. One loss becomes I always fail. One delay becomes I'll never get there. That exaggeration drains power. Powerful people keep meaning specific. This didn't work. Not everything is broken. That preserves momentum. Meaning also affects resilience. If struggle means I'm weak, quitting feels logical. If struggle means I'm building capacity, persistence makes sense. Same effort, different outcome. You can train meaning deliberately. Pause before reacting. Notice the story forming. Ask a better question. What's useful here? What can I adjust? What's the next smart move? Those questions keep you in motion. Meaning is not denial. It's not pretending things are easy or ignoring reality. It's the choice of interpretation that leads to action. Truth plus empowerment. When meaning changes, emotional weight drops. Pressure becomes information. Failure becomes data. That creates calm under stress. Over time, meaning builds identity. If challenges mean growth, you become resilient. If challenges mean threat, you become cautious. This is where inner power deepens. You stop being controlled by events. You stop reacting automatically. You choose how experiences shape you. That choice compounds. Big change doesn't come from big moments. It comes from small actions repeated. Daily rituals build power quietly. No hype, no pressure, just consistency. Most people fail because they rely on motivation. Motivation fades. Rituals remain. Rituals remove decision fatigue. They make action automatic. That's why they work. A ritual is not a routine. Routines are mechanical. Rituals are intentional. A ritual has purpose. It reinforces identity. It strengthens control. Start with the morning. The first minutes shape the day. Most people wake up and react. Notifications, noise, urgency. That hands control away. A powerful morning begins with intention. 5 minutes is enough. Decide how you want to show up. Choose one focus for the day. Set one non-negotiable action. Clarity replaces chaos. Next comes movement. Not intense, intentional. A short walk, stretching, breathing. This wakes the nervous system. It signals readiness. Energy responds quickly. During the day, add one courageous action. One thing you'd usually delay. One thing that feels slightly uncomfortable. Send the message. Start the task. Speak up. Small courage compounds fast. This action reinforces identity. I do hard things. I follow through. I move even when it's uncomfortable. That belief strengthens daily. Evenings matter more than people think. How do you close the day affects how you start the next. Most people numb out, scroll, distract. That carries mental clutter into tomorrow. A power evening is simple. Reflect briefly. What worked today? What can improve tomorrow? No judgment, no criticism, just awareness. This closes mental loops. It catches attention. It restores calm. Sleep improves. Focus improves. Power renews. The key is simplicity. If it's too complex, it won't last. 5 minutes beats 0. Consistency beats intensity. Rituals should fit your life, not your ideal life, your real one. Busy schedules need a simple structure. That's how rituals survive. Over time, rituals compound. Energy stabilizes. Confidence grows. Focus sharpens. You stop relying on mood. You build reliability. That reliability becomes self-trust. And self-trust fuels momentum. Daily rituals don't create pressure. They create stability. Your life reflects your standards, not your goals, not your intentions, your standards. Standards are what you accept, what you allow, what you tolerate. They operate quietly, but they shape everything. Most people set goals. Few set standards. Goals are wishes. Standards are rules. Goals inspire for a moment. Standards guide behavior daily. What you tolerate becomes normal. Late starts, low energy, half effort. When something is tolerated, it stops triggering change. That's how stagnation forms. Raising standards doesn't mean becoming harsh. It means becoming clear. Clear about what you allow yourself. Clear about how you show up. Clarity removes negotiation. Low standards drain energy. They create internal conflict. You know you could do better, but you let it slide. That erodes self-trust. High standards restore alignment. Standards apply to actions, not emotions. You can feel tired and still act with integrity. You can feel uncertain and still show up. Standards remove excuses. Most people wait for motivation to meet standards. Powerful people use standards to create motivation. When the rule is clear, decision fatigue disappears. Standards should be specific. I don't skip commitments. I finish what I start. I show up prepared. Vague standards create loopholes. Clear standards create consistency. Raising standards is gradual, not dramatic. One area at a time. One rule at a time. Small upgrades last longer. Standards shape identity. If your standard is excellence, effort rises. If your standard is comfort, growth slows. You become what you demand of yourself. Standards also affect the environment. People adjust to what you allow. Work expands or contracts accordingly. Boundaries strengthen respect. High standards don't make life rigid. They make life simpler. Less negotiation, less regret, less self-criticism, more clarity, more follow-through. Standards protect your future. They prevent drift. They keep you aligned when motivation fades. When standards rise, the results follow. Not immediately, but inevitably. This is the quiet upgrade. No announcement, no pressure, just a higher bar. At this point, you know the truth. You were never missing power. You were missing direction. Nothing in this video was about becoming someone else. It was about returning to control. Control over focus, control over energy, control over response. That's real power. Growth doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens in quiet decisions. The decision to show up, the decision to act despite discomfort, the decision to hold yourself to a higher standard. Those decisions shape your future. You don't need to wait for confidence. Confidence follows action. You don't need perfect clarity. Clarity appears after movement. You don't need permission. You already have it. The tools are simple. Direct your state. Lead yourself. Choose a meaning that builds strength. Protect daily rituals. Raise standards gradually. Nothing extreme. Nothing unrealistic. Just consistent alignment. Most people hear messages like this and feel inspired for a moment, then life pulls them back. That doesn't have to happen. Not if you decide differently today. Ask yourself one question. What's one choice I will not avoid today, not tomorrow? Today. One action. One follow-through. That's enough to start momentum. Momentum doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for participation. Once you step in, it carries you forward. This is where growth becomes real. Not motivational, not emotional, practical, repeatable, yours. You don't need to remember everything. Remember this. Power is practiced. Every day you choose deliberately, you strengthen it. Your future isn't waiting. It's responding to your decisions. Make one now and move forward. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, my friends.